You know those delicious Amish egg noodles that you can buy from the store? Well, they are so super easy to make, and I'm going to show you exactly how. Welcome to the Salted Pepper, where we cook for real life using real food and we keep it real simple. Today's recipe is for an Amish style egg noodle. These are so easy to make. They are absolutely delicious. You can add them to all kinds of soups or stews anytime you want a nice hearty noodle. You only need 3 ingredients and a little bit of water, and you probably already have them at home. We need eggs, flour, and a little bit of salt. So what I do is I take a plate, okay? I learned this trick from an Italian chef who taught me how to make pasta, and it's just works great, okay? So a plate is all you need. We're gonna put 2 cups of all-purpose flour. I start off with 2 cups, but I always have another cup and a half handy, okay? So that's 2 cups. Then you wanna make a little well right in the middle here. So this is similar to making pasta because it's the same sort of ingredients. So get all the way down to the plate and make a well and try to keep your sides kind of uniform. Now you could also do this in a stand mixer if you wanted to. Then I'm gonna add in one of the eggs. This is 1 teaspoon of salt. So I'm gonna add in just about a third of it. And we're gonna just sort of lightly incorporate that egg with the flour. Now the reason for the plate is in case, which I'm sure it's gonna happen at some time during this video, where I'm gonna what's called break the dam, and I'm gonna have my egg and water mixture go all over the place. But guess what? When it's on a plate, it does not spill all over your cutting board or whatever surface you're working on. So this was a great little trick that I learned from him, and I absolutely love it. All right, once that's mixed in, we're gonna add in another egg. We're gonna use a total of 3 eggs. And do the same thing, just bringing the flour in from the side to incorporate with the egg. You can see my little holes getting bigger and bigger, and that's what you want. Another third of the salt. And another little bit of water. I'm using 6 tablespoons of water, which is a 1/4 cup and 2 extra tablespoons. That's what I've found works really well in this recipe. However, we're gonna go by texture more than anything else, okay? And I'll show you exactly what the dough should look like. All right, so we're about there. We're gonna add in that final egg, the rest of the salt. Now we will get this incorporated and we will slowly work in the rest of that water, or as much as the flour needs anyway. I might get through this whole thing without breaking the dam, so to speak, which is kind of funny because that never happens. I always get it all over the place. All right, we're gonna add in a little bit of water. All right, now I'm doing it on purpose because you see we're kind of getting thicker here and we just want to finish combining everything. And now there's really no liquid to run away from us, so just move all that flour to the center here. Now this plate is a little bit bigger than a dinner plate, just so you know for reference. It's more like a serving plate. It's got little sides that come up, so it works perfect for this. But I've also done it with a dinner plate and it worked just fine too. All right, we'll put the rest of the water in and then fold in the dough here just to get everything incorporated. Next, we're gonna go with our hands. So make sure your hands are nice and clean and we will get to pulling this dough all together. All right, now one thing that I recommend that you do is take about a tablespoon of flour and put it on your hands, just like that. And then pull the dough and just pull it towards you. Now we still have to work in a little bit of this flour. I got a little runaway here. But if the dough is really sticky like this is even if I worked in all the rest of this flour, I can already tell it is just too sticky. That means that we need more flour. And another little trick that he taught me is to wash your hands over the plate. So put flour so you can get all this extra stuff that's stuck on your hands, which is something I really cannot stand. And just kind of wash your hands over your plate and you're getting all of that sticky dough off and back where it belongs on the plate. And it works. Except mine's really sticky, so I'm going to do another tablespoon here. All right, there we go. So I'm accomplishing two things, cleaning off my hands of the sticky dough and adding more flour that this dough needs. All right, perfect. All right, so keep going and just sort of bring it towards you. We don't have to knead this. We're not making bread, but we do need it to come together so that we can roll it out. So just keep moving it towards you, doing a little flip, moving it towards you again. Kind of reminds me of making pastry, like a puff pastry. All right, so here we go. We're going to add another, probably 2 tablespoons. And again, there is no exact measurement. Usually it's about 2.5 cups of flour, but I go by feel more than anything else because your dough will tell you when it's ready. And we're getting close, but not quite yet. Because it's still sticking quite a bit to my hands. Now you could also do this in a bowl, or you could use a KitchenAid mixer if you wanted to make it a little bit easier. But I figured, I want to show people how to do things without, without a mixer because you might not have one. So, and it's pretty easy to do. But see how sticky I am? Still not there yet. Now at this point, definitely only add about a tablespoon or 2 of the flour because you don't want to go to the other side where it's just too dry of a dough. But if that does happen, just add a little more water and it'll be fine. All right, that's feeling pretty good now. Yeah, that's feeling pretty good. Okay, so let me get up all these little pieces, put them in. And then we're going to be done with our plate because now we want a bigger surface to work on. So that is perfect. Might still need some flour, but that's okay. All right, that looks good. Now I'm gonna move this. Now my countertop is very clean. You can use a clean flat countertop or any other flat surface, a cutting board, a large pastry mat, anything you want, but I find it to be easiest just to work right on the counter. And I'm just gonna go in with my hands here and spread a little light dusting of the flour on your surface. And then we are just gonna bring this dough together. Now I'm feeling a little sticky, so we're gonna watch that. Might need to add a little bit more flour. If it starts sticking just like that, add a little bit more. Okay, now we're gonna knead it just a little bit. We don't need to, again, really develop gluten or anything like that, but we do need it to roll out nicely. All right, a little sticky still, a little bit more. We're getting really close though. So I would say this dough takes about 10 minutes to put together maybe. And it's so worth it. Oh my gosh. It makes the best chicken and noodle recipe. All right, see how it's sticking down here? That tells me that I need a little more flour right here. There we go. that feels good. I think that's gonna do it. So again, usually it is about 2.5 cups of flour for based on those other ingredients that I used and the amount of water. Still a little, just a tiny bit, but not much. So I really don't want to add a whole lot of flour, maybe just a sprinkling. The other thing that the chef told me when I took the pasta class is he said, make sure you don't put too much flour and dry your dough out, because you can fix wet dough, but you can't, you can always add more flour if it's wet, but you really can't fix it too much, especially with pasta where there's no water added, if you add too much flour. I mean, I guess there are little fixes that you could do, but I thought that was interesting that he would say, no, you know, just make sure keep it wetter rather than drier, which is why I'm adding just little bits at a time. Now with this recipe, if you did end up getting it too dry, you would just put a little bit more water in. All right, that looks good. And then poke it and it should just sort of pop back up, which mine did. That's good. All right, now we are also gonna put some more flour down. I don't measure for this at all, because now we are going to roll it out. Now you can let it rest. If you wanted to let it rest for a little bit, which I sometimes do, you can absolutely do that. Just wrap it in plastic wrap and you can leave it on the counter for a few minutes or put it into the refrigerator. But this is not yeast based, so we don't need to let it rise or anything like that. I'm gonna go right into rolling it out. So when you're ready to roll out your dough, the first thing you wanna do is cut it. So we're just gonna cut it into 4 pieces here. Just set it out there. Then just sort of make another little circle with it. Maybe I should go that way. So the flour's on the outside so you don't have any issues with it holding together when you go to roll it. The reason why I cut it is so that you can get it rolled thinly enough for your noodles without, you know, having to roll like 10 feet in one direction. So it's kind of important that you do that. All right, then lightly flour the top here. And take your rolling pin. And if it's sticking, like this is, flour some more, okay? We are not incorporating the flour into the dough at this point. We are just using it to prevent it from sticking. So roll this out. What we're going for is a nice rectangle with thin dough, okay? Now, of course, you can make your noodles as thick or as thin as you want, but what's gonna work best in something like a chicken noodle soup or something like that is gonna be on the thin side, because as they cook, they do expand a little bit. So I try to make them about a 1/4 inch thick at most, but even thinner if I can get them that way. This is looking pretty good. So I'm starting to be able to see the countertop through it, and I can see my hands through it. So that looks pretty good there. Now this does not have to be as thin as you might do pasta. So that looks really good. Okay, now we're gonna cut it. The first step in cutting it is cutting into long strips, and then you can cut those strips into any size you want or break them, whatever you wanna do. So what I do is, another tip from this Italian chef, is roll your dough up. Now I've already got this lightly floured, but if you didn't have to add a lot of flour, you might wanna flour the surface because you don't want it to stick, okay? So roll it up till it gets to about the center, and then roll this just like that, okay? See that? Now take a sharp knife, a pizza cutter, a pasta cutter, anything that will cut through this dough, which pretty much be anything, a butter knife would work. And now we're gonna start on this end. Now what I do usually is just take this and discard these ends so that they're nice and crisp ends for my noodles. And then how thick do you want them, okay? If you want them really thick, you can make them really thick. If you want them thinner like I do, which is about 1/4 of an inch, I'm gonna go a little bit thinner. Make sure your knife goes all the way through. That's very important. Okay, very good. Now with these right here, take the dull side of your knife and put it right underneath. So flip it right underneath. Mine are sticking just a little bit. I should have had more flour over the counter, but I didn't. So, all right, get it onto your knife and then move it up. Some of mine fell off. And then shake. And if you had them floured correctly, which apparently I did not, they will unroll on their own. But I didn't have enough flour, so I'm going to have to coax them a little bit. So if yours are sticking, just sort of coax them to unroll. And next time I will show you, I will do it better because I'll make sure I put a little bit more flour on top. I'm going to move this so I can actually see so I don't break my flour. Break my stuff. Okay, so there we go. Now we have our long noodles. What I like to do is just stick them right on the counter and toss them in a little bit of flour so they do not stick. Now, if you wanted a nice long noodle soup, that would be great. Now, if you don't want to do the knife thing, that's fine. We can just unroll them here. But mine are really sticking. So we're going to fix that next time and I'll show you. Okay, very good. A little bit of flour. Now, if you're not going to use these for a while, you do want to cover them. But for the short period of time that I'm going to have them out, they're going to be just fine. Because I'm going to use them next to make chicken and noodles. All right, I am going to show you that trick again in case you want long noodles, but I'm also going to show you how to do short noodles because I'm not going to use this long of noodles in my chicken and noodle recipe. All right, so let's go ahead and start again with another one. Put it down, make sure you are well floured so you don't stick. And we're going to do the same thing again. All right, that looks good. Now we're going to avoid what I did before by putting a nice coating of flour on there. I'm going to start the same way. By rolling each end to the middle. Just sort of cut off those little ends so that we have nice even noodles. And I'm going to cut down. But now instead of putting them onto my knife, I'm just going to unwrap them right here and determine what size I want them. So let's go like that. So these are about 3 to 4 inches, okay? And you can make some longer, some shorter. It really doesn't matter. You know, you can do whatever you want at this point, however you want to cut them. Make sure that they do get coated in flour though, or they'll stick together. All right, I'm going to end up cutting those, so I'm not going to put them in the same place. So let me show you one more time here. And there's another way you can do this too, so I will show you that as well. All right, some of those are a little longer. That'll be just fine and dandy. Toss them there. All right, I'm gonna put these over to the side. And we're gonna move on. Well, we have this other half. I was wondering, I was like, what? That doesn't seem like enough noodles. What happened? You might be able to put this right in here. Let me do it this way. Just to sort of hold them. Let's see if that works any better. Yeah, it works. I don't know if it works any better, but it works. Probably not any better. Might have even been a little bit more cumbersome. All right, there we go. Cut. Cut. Now, if you've been making these types of noodles forever and you've got a trick to cutting them that you'd like to share, please leave me a comment and let me know. Because I think it's so interesting. You know, there's so many ways to approach the same thing, really. All right, before I move on to do the rest, I'm just gonna take these noodles and sort of lay them out because I don't want them this long. Then I will show you that knife thing again. All right, so roll one end into the middle. And then the other end to meet it. This one is like pretty perfect. I don't even have to take off anything. And then cut your noodles the width that you want. Okay. With the flat end of your knife, go under. And when this one side is all on your knife, which I might not be able to fit all of mine on this knife, you just move the knife up. There we go. That's the way it's supposed to work. So it makes it really quick and easy. Now, because I am not going to use these this long, and I'm not sure when you would use egg noodles this long, but who knows? I'm going to take them and just put them down like that so I can easily cut them. You can tell I'm being extremely precise about the way I'm cutting these, right? No, I'm not. It doesn't matter. All right, toss them around in that flour. They are gonna go over here. All right, so the last way I'm gonna show you how to cut them, which is the way I've always cut them before I took this pasta making class, is to cut them this way, however long you want them. And then just cut them this way. And this is where a pizza cutter really comes in handy. One thing that I noticed though with this technique versus the other technique is the size. You can get them a lot smaller the other way. And I find because of the way I'm cutting them, the knife, you know, it's just harder to judge. Of course, I'm cutting these a lot shorter too, but. And even with the pizza roller, which is really nice to cut these. It makes it very, very fast. I did not get them even or anything. So I do like the other method. It gives you nice straight noodles, but if you don't want to do that, you can also do this. All right, there we go. Toss them in that little bit of flour, and we have made our homemade egg noodles.